Andre, tell us about how paratransit services are provided in this massive county of Los Angeles County.
Well, we're a very unique paratransit system, because we're independent. We're not part of a larger transit system. We have our own independent board. And number two, we're also the largest coordinated paratransit system in the United States. So we provide paratransit services on behalf of 46 fixed route agencies in Los Angeles County.
That's amazing. How do you do that?
We, in 1994, the Metro Board made a very wise decision because at the time there were 32 separate transit systems. Instead of having in LA County 32 separate paratransit systems, they said, we need to just have a unified paratransit system with its own independent board. And we also have a governance advantage in that because we actually have customers on our board. So when we make governmental decisions about the paratransit system in Los Angeles, we have customers actually weighing in on that, and it's really helped deliver excellent customer service.
And what are the issues you're grappling with now, and what are some of the solutions?
I think we're grappling, like a lot of people, with increases in ridership and where do we find the drivers, where do we find the vehicles, and I think we're looking at using TNCs for part of that. We've traditionally used a lot of taxi cabs. We continue to do so, but I think we really have to look for where can we find that additional capacity. So we are using other TNCs like Silver Ride in our system, but also I think we have to look at Uber and Lyft and the capacity they can provide to our system to make sure we continue to deliver that customer service.
And are you fully integrated in like with LA Metro, so they send you their ADA trips?
No, we have our contracts. Our contractors do everything from soup to nuts. So we have 6 regions. They each have their own contractor. That contractor takes all the reservations, they do the scheduling, the routing, and they do the dispatching. So they are responsible for delivering all the trips in their region.
And you coordinate it?
Yes, we oversee and coordinate that. That's correct.
That's amazing. Well, best wishes, brother.
Thank you. It was nice to meet you.
Toby, we're inside this one-of-a-kind Holon vehicle that is an autonomous vehicle soon to be made in America. Tell us about it.
That's exactly right. So we just proud to announce about 2 weeks ago that this is going to be built in Jacksonville, Florida. So the Holon Mover, these serial production units will come offline starting September of 2026. This is a 15-passenger vehicle, fully automated up to level 4 capability, powered by the Mobileye drive system. So this is something that will achieve speeds of closer to 40 miles an hour. We'll have the opportunity to do various use cases, everything from campus solutions, first and last mile connectivity, connecting to mobility hubs. And we really feel like this is going to be a great way to drive ridership into the broader ecosystem of our transportation agencies.
And what's Beep's involvement with it?
So Beep, when you think about replacing a driver in a shared autonomous vehicle like this, the driver is doing a lot more of the steering, braking, acceleration. And so what Beep is really focused on is how can we support riders in all those other types of use cases. So think about, just safety management of a passenger as the vehicle is going down the road. Someone has an event, they fall, something like that. We've built advanced AI into the camera systems on the interior of the vehicle itself to where we could alert, and then there's a command and control environment that can look at these situations in real time to escalate and evaluate accordingly. The other thing is when you think about on-road decisions where the algorithm is going to know 99.999%, but when we're deploying these things at scale, that 0.001% exception is going to come up quite frequently. So driverless does not mean humanless, and so we believe there's a human in the loop that's necessary in a remote environment to really be able to see that. And so Beep has our autonomous software that allows that remote command and control look to be able to see what's going on in real time and be able to make escalations accordingly.
Matt, one of the great things I love about what you do in Jacksonville and for our industry is you're the first one. When I was CEO of Baltimore, I remember you were head of APTA, and you said, Paul, we need to move into a model of being just a transit provider to a mobility aggregator. Talk about that for a minute.
I truly believe in terms of holistic transportation solutions. And the better that we walk, bike, public transit, automobiles, that entire spectrum needs to be harmonious. And we need to have that kind of thinking when we develop our transportation infrastructure and not think from siloed modal type of perspectives. I don't think it's in the best interest of moving people in the future in the most efficient way.
Yeah, and you've been one of the leaders in exploring the technology that we have here today. Tell us about that.
Yes, so we started this process back in like 2015 where we needed to replace our aging Skyway system. And at the time, we started first hearing about autonomous vehicles. Now, the JTA, we're a road builder as well as we do public transportation. So for us, we were really looking at what these autonomous vehicles were going to mean, either in passenger vehicles and or in shuttles on our streets. With that, we made a decision to go with autonomous vehicles and to replace the Skyway, going from that 2.5 mile elevated structure to repurposing that 2.5 mile structure and then expanding to a full 10 mile system at grade and the elevated structure. And the challenge was, the great opportunity was we got a build grant, and with that federal funding, we had to be Buy America compliant. And the challenge was a lack of Buy America compliant vehicles being manufactured in the United States. We started talking about our project to many of the foreign vehicle manufacturers who were working in this space in Europe, and we were fortunate that Bentler and eventually Holon felt that co-locating with this U2C project was the way to go for manufacturing their vehicles.
So what I love about this, Nat, this is the first made in America vehicle, right, for autonomous electric?
This is going to be the first mass-produced vehicle. There have been a number of startups that have produced, a handful of vehicles, but weren't able to stay in production. They're looking at 5,000 to 10,000 units, 500,000 square foot manufacturing facility in Jacksonville, Florida, $100 million investment for our community, and up to 300 jobs that'll be created to manufacture these vehicles, not just for our U2C project in Jacksonville, but for the entire country, and the potential to export those vehicles back to Europe through the Jacksonville port. So it was a very large collaboration. We feel great that the U2C project kind of spurred it on, but then the partnership with our city of Jacksonville, the state, to put the package together and the property together, and they found it was the right ecosystem. I would add one more thing that they thought was very, very important. The ecosystem includes a number of very well-connected, with our U2C project, universities and colleges. So the engineering students and the talent that will be developed to support their manufacturing is there, along with the number of veterans that retire, Navy veterans that retire in the Jacksonville area. It's a very interesting ecosystem that they looked at for manufacturing in our community.
So Nat, when does all this start?
So first phase of our project is the Bay Street Innovation Corridor. They will not be in production of vehicles in time for our launch in June of 2025. So in June of 2025, we'll be using the Ford electric van platform. We have those vehicles already outfitted, and they're being, final touches are being made on those vehicles, and then we'll test them through the early part of next year and launch in June of 2025. In terms of their production, they believe in another 2 years they'll be in full production and be with a Buy America compliant vehicle. Our plan is to then swap out the Ford product for the custom-built, ground-up, purpose-built autonomous vehicles, and we will use those Ford vehicles in some of our ready ride zones. So there is, beyond our U2C project, a strategy to do first mile, last mile connection with our bus rapid transit network, as well as college campuses and medical facilities. So Jacksonville is going to have a host of deployments related to autonomous vehicle technology.
Conan, great to be with you here at LA Metro headquarters. Tell us about some of the big projects you're working on now.
Hey, Paul. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the show again. There's a lot of exciting stuff that we're doing here at LA Metro. Of course, we're multimodal, but when we talk about operations here, we have bus, we have rail, we have microtransit, bike share, van pool, and express lanes. And in fact, we're standing on one of the stations on the El Monte busway, which is part of the 10 freeway express lanes. As far as major projects we're doing, within operations, we really have 3 primary goals. The first one is to provide clean, safe, fast, reliable service. And to that end, we're continuing to work on our bus lanes that we're building throughout the city and the county. We have a little over 50 miles of bus lanes so far and counting. We're also working on all-door boarding to speed up the boarding for our buses. As far as safety, especially for our operators, which is a significant focal point for us, we're actually building our own retrofit barriers to be able to provide fully enclosed barriers for our operators. So we'll have the entire fleet done by the end of the calendar year.
That's awesome, man. And you've got some big capital projects going on too, don't you?
Yeah, we definitely do. I mean, my boss, Stephanie Wiggins, always tells us that we have a new rail project coming online every single year from now until 2028.
Wow.
So right now, we're really thinking about what we need to do to open up the airport metro connector. We have the A line north extending out to Pomona. We also have the project, obviously, the Purple Line extension, which is our subway extension out to Westwood and beyond to the VA hospital. And so those are parts of the extended network that we're going to be using for the special event service. In addition to that, we're also working on building out another express lanes. So we're looking at building out the I-105, the Century Freeway, from the I-405 to the 605. And what that does is it provides a better opportunity for people coming from the airport to go directly into downtown LA.
Well, one of the big things I know that LA is working on is the mayor has called for a car-free Olympics coming up in a few years. How is LA Metro getting ready for that? You as COO, that's a big responsibility.
We've been doing an awful lot. We started our planning process probably more than a year ago.
Okay.
We've really dived into all the different venues that are, at least we know of today, which is probably over 80 different venues.
Where there's going to be events going on?
Where there's going to be events going on, identifying what we expect the demand to be by day and time of day, and then really understanding how many buses we're going to need to provide that service. So far, we're looking at needing 2,700 buses for this Games Enhanced transit system, which is going to enhance our existing transit system with point-to-point services from temporary park and ride lots and mobility hubs over to the venues themselves.
Okay.
And in order to come up with the 2,700 buses, we're really looking to our partners, the entire transit industry, asking other transit agencies to borrow buses. We're talking to the school districts, other colleges and universities to see if we can use their fleets as well. And then we're starting our own contingency fleet because we want to make sure that we have a zero or near zero emissions bus fleet for the Olympics. And that includes electric buses as well as CNG buses.
Wow, that's something. So even though the Olympics is a few years off, you're getting ready for it now, huh?
Yeah, we definitely need to start now. There's so much to do to get ready for the Olympics. The planning is one piece, but really getting all of the agreements in place, getting the temporary park and ride lots, the mobility hubs, those in place, and of course the fleet. And at that point, we definitely need to make sure that we can get a significant amount of operators, mechanics, supervisors to help out within that short duration of time.
So you got to ramp up hiring, everything now.
It's basically like starting a new transit system.
Hey, Seleta, great to be with you here at LA Metro. Tell us some about the role of a Chief Innovation Officer at a big transit agency like this.
Every transit agency that has a Chief Innovation Officer does it a little bit differently. So here at LA Metro, my portfolio includes major events, which include, of course, the 2028 Olympic and Paralympic Games. But before that, the 2026 World Cup, which is being hosted around the United States and North America. We also have in our portfolio the Mobility Wallet, which is part of the largest universal basic mobility pilot in the United States. It really looks at mobility as a universal human right and determines how can we best connect people with the transportation that can get them where they need to go. We also have the traffic reduction study, which is the artist formerly known as congestion pricing here in Los Angeles and Southern California. And we're currently working on the agency's strategic action plan, which is really our 3-year blueprint to figure out how we're going to get all this done, prioritize the right things, reconcile things that don't align, and really deliver for this region.
Olympics is on everybody's mind with just the Paris Games and all that, but it's coming here to LA, and I know the mayor has declared this is going to be a car-free, transit-first Olympics. Tell me how you all are getting ready for that.
So the first thing that pops into people's minds, usually when they think about Los Angeles, it might be celebrities, beaches, maybe the Kardashians, but the next thing is usually traffic. And so the idea that this region is going to be able to host an event of this size and caliber in a way that really prioritizes transit and reduces people's reliance on getting around by car feels very exciting, I think, to people in this region, and also very encouraging to people around the world, particularly in other cities where the idea of doing something like that feels very visionary and very aspirational. So we know the idea is exciting, and we know it's meaningful in terms of what we have to do in order to shift mode split to get people to take biking, walking, and transit more, whether it's around our climate goals, our public health goals, or our economic mobility goals. We know we have to do something different than the way we've been doing things if we want different outcomes in the region. And the Olympics and the Paralympics offer this incredible portal for us to get this region to move a little differently. So our job then is to figure out, well, practically, how can we make that happen? And we really see it as a combination of strategies. First and foremost, the services have to be there. The bus has to be competitive with driving. It has to be comfortable, it has to be safe, clean, and reliable. These are things that Metro is prioritizing right now for the people who already use our buses and trains to get around. But we know we have a lot of work to do to get to where we want to be in terms of all of those kinds of things. But we also have to then go and look at the way the streets are designed and how they prioritize different modes of transportation. So we're looking at things like bus-only lanes and transit priority treatments. We're also implementing big-time rail and infrastructure projects like the Purple Line that will extend eventually all the way out to the Athletes Village at UCLA. We're looking at improvements for people walking and biking, so protected bikeways and pedestrian improvements. And we're also thinking carefully about comforts like shade, water, and concessions. So we have in our plan this idea of a mobility hub that we're going to implement around the region. These are underused parking lots around transit stations or other kind of key neighborhood locations that we're going to put in, you know, shade and benches and trees and maybe concessions. We're going to put in bike share stations, maybe car sharing nodes, create better, more comfortable transitions from rail to the bus so that it's easy and it's comfortable and it's enjoyable. It would be great if these weren't just mobility hubs, but they become neighborhood hubs. One of the things that Paris did so successfully was to create all of these live sites and celebration zones so that even if you didn't have a ticket to a single Olympic or Paralympic event, they were free. You could go sit in a park or be in a neighborhood. There was a big screen, there were family activities. We would love to see that happen around some of these mobility hubs so that getting around and getting from A to B isn't just functional, but it's actually enjoyable, that we have something that we call transportation happiness, which isn't a word that people associate with getting around Los Angeles now. But we also have a lot of customer service improvements. So everything from, you know, making it as easy to pay to get onto our system as it is to buy a cup of coffee, that you can do it with your debit card or your credit card or your Google Wallet or your Apple Wallet, to wayfinding, signage, making it really enjoyable, easy, and simple so that you feel taken care of, that there's a sense of hospitality wherever you go. And that extends to, you know, high-tech things like payment, but also low-tech things like our ambassador program, which is already one of the largest ones in the country, and we expect to grow that exponentially by the time the world comes to Los Angeles in 2028.
Well, that's amazing, Seleta. I mean, you guys have put a lot of thought in this. I mean, that's still 3 or 4 years off, and you're getting it all together now. What's the call to action to the community?
So I think in a lot of people's minds, they think that the Olympics and the Paralympics are something that, you know, sort of shower a community in resources from the organizing committee or from the International Olympic Committee. And what I've learned in the past couple of years of doing the planning is that that's just not how the games work, that you get out of them what you put into them. What Paris delivered in terms of an incredible experience and a unifying moment was really about what the city and the transit agencies and their partners in the arts and culture world and the business community and the nonprofit community, they delivered that. They took advantage of this once in a generation opportunity and really made the most of it. So what I'm hoping is that we see, as we gather momentum, as we move towards this event, that the tent gets bigger and bigger, and that we really as a region are able to come together and show what makes Los Angeles special. It is our inclusivity, it is our cultural diversity, it is our neighborhoods, it is our people, it is our storytelling, right? And while we're a transit agency, we are also home to a lot of the resources, right? We're bringing in funding to implement some of this infrastructure. We're building the stage, but it's only an empty stage until we really start to bring partners together to animate it and make it something beautiful. So I hope that we hear from cities and counties and neighborhood groups and cultural groups that have ideas for how they would like to work together with Metro. We're going to reach out to them as well, but this is the time to be inspired and to sort of set aside our traditional silos and the way we normally do things. There's nothing like the games to be a real catalyzing moment for a city, a region, a state, a country.
Hey, Anthony, thanks for being with us here today in iconic Union Station in LA, man.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
So tell us about your job here at the agency.
So I'm the executive officer for communications, but specifically I oversee construction relations, all of our capital projects that are currently under construction.
Yeah, Conan told us about your big capital program. Today I want to ask you about the D-Line. That's a big project coming up. It's kind of tied to the Olympics. Tell us a little about that.
The D-Line extension is one of our most exciting projects. It actually extends our existing D-Line from Koreatown all the way out to the VA Center in West Los Angeles. It includes 7 new stations and is approximately 9 miles long.
And how expensive is that? Is that a big, costly project?
So funding for the D-Line comes from both Measure R and Measure M, both of which are sales tax measures that were passed by LA County voters. The total project budget is approximately $9 billion.
So the mayor has asked for the Olympics to be kind of a car-free, transit-first Olympics, I think. So how is the D-Line helping with that?
So we see the D-Line as being critical to helping with the Olympics. Not only does it provide access to downtown Los Angeles once it's completed, but also provide access to Westwood, which is the home of the Athletes Village in UCLA.
That's pretty awesome, Anthony. So like the athletes will be able to ride to Olympic Village?
So not only will the athletes have access to the Olympic Village, but they'll also have access to other venues, including Exposition Park, which is the home of the LA Coliseum, as well as the entire metro network across Los Angeles County.
That's great. It's amazing that I don't think people realize how much planning goes into something, even though it's 3 or 4 years away. You guys are rocking on it now, aren't you? Full speed ahead.
We began planning back in 2023, and we're really excited about the opportunity to really get it right. This will be a new challenge for Los Angeles, and we're ready to meet the challenge.
Awesome, man. Well, good luck to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
Steven, we're at your beautiful station at Santa Monica. Thanks for being with us, man.
Oh, thanks so much for coming here to visit and check it out.
One thing I noticed here that just started recently is something you call your Tap to Exit program. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we're really excited to be able to roll this out. This is actually our second station that we have rolled this out to. We started this the day after Memorial Day at a different end-of-line station in North Hollywood. We saw some really strong results there. In fact, not only did we see reported incidents on our Transit Watch app, that's our See Something, Say Something app, we saw incidents of smoking, drugs, and alcohol. Those reports were down 60% throughout the entire summer, and we wanted to roll this out. Thankfully, because of our board being very supportive, we're rolling this out to other end-of-line stations, just like the one that we're at here today, including downtown Santa Monica. And here, we're already seeing very promising data. In total, we've seen over the fare gates alone at these 2 stations, we've been able to process over 500,000 exits that have actually automatically corrected 50,000 unpaid rides that we've been able to capture here. But we know our customers really like it. Our surveys show 9 in 10 riders that we've surveyed actually said they're feeling that the station is safer and they're seeing cleaner conditions here on the ride at Metro.
Tell us how this works, this Tap to Exit.
Yeah, definitely. One of the ways that we saw here as part of our station experience program, which is really intended to do a lot of quick build, tactical interventions to really inspire appropriate activity in our stations. We looked at what equipment do we have today. And if you actually take a look at our fare gates, we already have validators on both sides. We've just never had the exit side turned on. We know this is a very common tactic in London, in Tokyo, in Hong Kong, in Washington, D.C., and in BART. But we know that we've never done it here before. So we just turned them on. And by doing that, layering that with our fare compliance team, we've been able to see a tremendous turnaround in terms of the safety and the cleanliness and our fare compliance.
So tell me a little bit more about how it actually works and what is it intended to do?
Absolutely. So our fare gates have been around for about 10 years or so, but ever since we started our fare gate program, which is about at half of our stations or so, we've only required people to tap in. And that's primarily because we've had a flat fare system, so there wasn't a need to compute distance-based fares or other variable fares. But what we found was maybe we could use the fare gates as an opportunity to check people on the way out, especially because some people may be entering at a station without fare gates.
Aha.
So it's an opportunity for us to be able to check someone who maybe didn't get checked on their way in. What we found through this is a tremendous improvement in terms of reported incidents. Our safety has improved, and most importantly, our customers are saying that they feel safer and that they are seeing cleaner conditions on the system.
Stephen, one of the other cool things you guys have done recently here is something called an open elevator door program. What's that about?
Well, this is something that we actually have been looking out to the rest of our transit agency partners, including in Denver. And thank you to our collaboration with RTD Denver. We took an idea that they started, actually, and they saw some promising signs. One of the challenges we have in our elevators, unfortunately, is unwanted activity, such as sheltering in the elevator, using drugs, urinating in the elevators. And when we thought about a lot of this is because the environmental design when an elevator is not in use is the doors are closed. And that provides the privacy for someone to be able to engage in unwanted activity. What we thought then was, what if when the elevators are not being used, they actually hold open? Just like you would see in a hotel lobby, oftentimes the doors are open until you're waiting to get in. And we found actually not only a substantial improvement in cleanliness, our custodians are reporting 60% drops in urination, in vandalism inside those elevators, which is helping actually improve our operational costs. But we've actually learned from our ambassadors that riders with bicycles, children in strollers are having a much easier time getting in and out of those elevators.
They don't have to push a button.
Exactly, they don't have to push a button. They have plenty of time to get in. They don't have to rush as the doors are closing. And they know as they're going in, they have that natural surveillance for them to go in. And so we see a huge turnaround in the elevator conditions at those newer elevators that we've been able to cut over to that improvement.
Stephen, I love going to music in the park, but here at LA Metro, you have your own version. Tell us about it.
That's right. In fact, the classical music, introducing this in a public area is not something new that we've seen. Even in past decades, we've seen reports that in New York City, they had this at the Port Authority bus terminal, but we really wanted to test this concept at one of our stations at Westlake MacArthur Park, where we were getting a lot of misuse inside the platforms where they were being used by non-destination riders. And what we found was by playing classical music to inspire appropriate activity, it helped keep people moving through the station, so much so that in the week after that we implemented, we saw about a 75% drop in loitering. People were then able to get on their trains, get off the trains, and make their way towards the exits. And so we now are expanding this to a number of other stations that have similar societal challenges, and we see it as one tool in the toolkit as part of the entire public safety ecosystem to really encourage appropriate activity on our system.
So Stephen, tell me about your smart bathroom program.
Well, this is a long time request that we have heard from our leadership, from the public, is that especially as our system is expanding rapidly, that people need places to be able to relieve themselves. Some trips are really long, over an hour. There's a lot of key transfer hubs, but we've never found, and I think a lot of public agencies have never found quite the solution that provides an amenity that does not get misused or abused by other individuals. And so really what we sought to do was a pilot. We piloted this with an innovative startup called Throne Labs. And really the key here that we found was that this restroom requires a cell phone to be able to access. And even though it's free to use, the purpose of the cell phone is that there is more self-accountability. We have the ability to get real-time information on did that person want to report a dirty restroom? We can send a cleaning crew right away. If we get a smoke detector alarm, then we know it's tied to a specific session. So just like you would go to a library, check out a book with a library card, it's still free, but we want to make sure that you use the amenity correctly. And that's what we've seen here, over 100,000 uses across the 10 locations, free to use for customers, and it's compatible with our California Lifeline free cell phone program. So we know that the equity component is always part of this, and some of our biggest cheerleaders are our riders themselves.
It's funny, we got a siren in the background because when you gotta go, sometimes it's an emergency. You gotta go.
Absolutely.
So that's why you got the Thrones out there, huh?
Exactly. It has been absolutely popular. We love that it is modular. We don't need to go get public works permits. It doesn't require full-on plumbing or electrical. It can run on sunny Southern California solar exposure. So it's really a turnkey solution, I think, for a lot of transit agencies to be able to do. Our bus operators actually love it at the layover.
Oh, sure.
It has been a huge challenge with all sorts of transit agencies across North America, but also importantly, our custodians are reporting, and what we see in our trouble tickets, a 50% reduction in public urination at the locations that we have implemented these. So we see this really as a win-win to not only deliver a cleaner station, allow our custodians to focus on their usual duties rather than special cleanups, but also delivering a customer experience amenity that really is world-class.
And how many do you have in the system?
We have 10 right now, but thank you to our board leadership, we are in the process of expanding up to 64 locations. That means about 2 out of 3 metro stations here in the coming years will have restroom access free to use for our customers.
And that'll be great for the Olympics, won't it?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Chief Hale, thanks for having us here today in LA.
Hey, pleasure to be here, Paul. I enjoyed the opportunity to meet with you this morning.
So Chief, tell me about the role of your department and how it interacts with companies like Trellint.
Well, parking enforcement and traffic control is a very important public safety partner here in the city of LA. Traffic officers, in addition to enforcing parking enforcement in terms of the local ordinances and state law and issue citations, of course, they also direct traffic. And so we receive dozens of requests weekly from LAPD, fire, to assist them in major incidents that they're responding to. So this is a significant role for our traffic officers. We partner with other city departments as well for the Mayor's Inside Safe. You may have heard of that, but essentially it's a Mayor's Homeless initiative and program wherein we're moving people off the streets into shelters and other forms of housing. So traffic officers and traffic supervisors go out there and ensure the safety as their other departments are clearing these encampments and removing some of the debris and transporting people into our buses and moving them off the street. We're there to make sure everybody is safe. And there are vehicles there that are often either disabled or inoperable, in which case, we're there with our partners at tow yards and OPGs to remove these vehicles. And so it's an important role that we have in supporting our first responders. And in terms of the role that Trellint plays with regard to this, I think to have a credible partner like Trellint that employs such experienced and knowledgeable people, it really is vital, I think, essential to the work that we do, especially with regard to parking enforcement. Before I joined LADOT in 2012, I didn't realize how much data and information is involved in parking enforcement. So having the staff there, the analysts at Trellint to go through that data and put it in a format that is easy for us to retain, and then it's important obviously for us making decisions in terms of our deployment of resources, providing us with information about opportunities in which we can perhaps improve our safety and enforcement efforts, and obviously through parking enforcement, a byproduct of all that is revenue. And so how are we maximizing revenue that not only pays our salaries but helps support other programs in the city? And so these are very important for us.
And what will the role be for your department in the upcoming 2028 Olympics?
Well, we're going to have a huge role, as you can imagine, the Olympics. We're excited about the Olympics coming to the city. I had no idea in terms of the magnitude of the number of visitors that are expected for the city. For the Olympics and the Paralympic Games, at 28 days that those events take place, we're expecting 5 million visitors to the city.
Wow.
So if you can imagine, essentially we're more than doubling the population of the city within that 28 days. And so how do we effectively manage that? We've already begun preparations. We need to do this early. The mayor has put forward a vision that the Olympics will be a car-free, transit-first, and so we're working with Caltrans, Metro, in order to develop plans for the safe Olympic and the movement of these people to help facilitate. Public transit is number one in terms of moving folks, but bicycling, pedestrians, all those are going to be an important role in how we get to and from the Olympic venues. We've had a team of traffic engineers that have already gone to Paris. They were there for the Olympics, observed and met with a number of their staff, and we took away some best practices and some ideas going forward. There are obviously some infrastructure improvements that we need to make here, and so we've identified not only that, but the resources and staffing and equipment, things of this nature that we're going to need, and so I've begun putting together a budget request for what I think will be needed for parking enforcement to help support all the different partners that are going to be here for the Olympics. And again, we're excited about the opportunity.
You work in an amazing, futuristic, technological-looking building here in downtown LA. What plans does your department and the city have to continue to work with advanced technologies as it comes to the role of your department?
Yeah, Paul, this is a fantastic building. I enjoy working here, and having the latest technology, I think, is critical and important to me, as well as the people that work with me. And so not just having the latest handheld ticket device that has all the necessary features and capabilities like GPS and such that kind of pre-populate citations and really help expedite that process. Automated license plate reading cameras, ALPR. I think this is really a direction that we want to go immediately into and expand. Recently, we got approval from the Transportation Committee to and approve a partnership with LA Metro. And so the department with LA Metro will be utilizing ALPR technology on their buses to enforce the dedicated bus lane. And
what does that stand for, ALPR?
Automated license plate reading.
Okay.
And these are cameras that are mounted, and in the case of our partnership with LA Metro, these cameras will be mounted on the buses that travel on these dedicated bus lanes. And these cameras are equipped with AI technology, and so if they capture a vehicle that is stopped or parked in the dedicated bus lane, they will take an image of that, both a video and still, and our traffic officers will review those images and make a determination as to whether or not an actual violation occurred. And if so, they will issue a citation to the registered owner of that vehicle. We're excited about that opportunity, obviously, because it improves the safety of the buses that are traveling, and they don't have to get out of the dedicated bus lanes in and out of traffic, improves their efficiencies and on-time performance, all those things. But again, the whole purpose of this really is to improve safety. We also want to expand ALPR in our preferential parking districts.
Okay.
And these are residential neighborhoods in which oftentimes there's limited parking. They may be adjacent to business districts, and so they'll have a number of people who don't live in the neighborhood parking on their streets. Mm-hmm. So they will establish a preferential parking district, or PPD, and in which case they will have a permit displayed on their vehicle, and vehicles that do not have this permit are subject to citation. And so right now, our traffic officers have to kind of get out of the vehicle, inspect, make sure that the permit is there. But with the ALPR, when we expand this, it will capture the license plate of the vehicle, registered, and it really is a efficiency, a force multiplier, as I like to call it, to really improve our ability to more efficiently and more comprehensively get through an entire preferential parking district and to note those violations in a more efficient way.
Well, Chief, it sounds like you got a comprehensive proposal to get ready for the Olympics, and you're looking forward with all this great new technology. We wish you the very best as you continue to work to provide safety and enforcement here in LA.
Thank you, Paul.
All right.
A pleasure to be with you today.
Suheila, we just heard from the Chief about the role they're playing with the Olympics coming up. What do private companies like Trellint do when it comes to working with the city's departments?
with the LA Department of Transportation, we've been fortunate to have about 40 years of long-term partnership with them. We provide them with parking management, citation processing operations, but most importantly, we've been a partner to them. Any type of big data, type of analysis they need, data science, we go above and beyond what the contract requires from us. And so people like Chief Hale and many engineers from the DOT side of the business, we've been friends, business partners over many years, and we work towards making sure that they achieve their company objectives, especially for the city.
Great, and how are private companies and the private sector helping the city in preparation for the Olympics and all the congestion? We just heard the chief say an extra 5 million people are going to be in the city during the Olympics. I'm sure you all have a big role in that.
Will help the city in figuring out, areas where they would need parking enforcement operations. They have about 5 divisions across the city with about 600 officers. So making sure that those officers are strategically located around the city, able to serve the Angelinos and all the communities coming into LA from different parts of the world. Our goal is to make sure that we support their car-free, transit-first efforts, towards the Olympics.
Peter, what do companies like Trellint do to assist the city in congestion management?
Well, Paul, we're currently working with the Los Angeles Department of Transportation on some new congestion management technology that will allow us to better understand how drivers use the city's curbside parking assets and help direct people to lower demand areas where it's more convenient for them to park, as well as help the city determine better pricing for those in-demand areas.
So it sounds like it's almost like airlines and some hotels, et cetera, they adjust their prices based on the demand. Is that what you're talking about doing when it comes to parking?
That's correct, Paul. We're currently analyzing over a decade worth of data to help the city better understand where pricing could be increased as it relates to the demand that's currently out there for those particular areas.
That's very interesting. So will you be utilizing that type of technology for the Olympics?
Yes, we're currently working with the city to determine what technology would be best used in those areas, as well as how we might be able to adjust pricing in the future.
That's amazing. So, I mean, a city like LA, which is considered sometimes the most congested city in America, or one of the most ones, these type of new technologies are really helping, I think, to improve the traffic flow and the mobility, not only for the residents, but for the millions of people that come here for big events like you've got the World Cup, the Super Bowl, and the Olympics, all boom, 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 coming up in a few years. So it's going to be a big time, and I think companies like yours will play an important part. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.